All right, so coming in today, talking about Severance season 2, episode 7. This one was so mind blowing to me. I'm gonna skip the intro, no 2 cents, whatever. Let's just get to it. So, Jessica Lee, I think Gajni. Hopefully, I'm not mispronouncing that name, but round of applause. What I'm seeing is this was her directorial debut, season 2, episode 7 of Severance, and
Oh, this was her debut.
that's what I'm seeing on the internet. Because
She did a phenomenal job.
After I watched it, my instant reaction was, "Who made that?"
Okay, yeah, she did a phenomenal job, bro.
Who made that? Like for me, cinematography, the editing, the cuts, the angles, some of the best work I've seen probably in a long time. Just visually to watch, bro, that was crazy. For me, it's probably after season 1, episode 9, that's probably the best episode of Severance I may have seen. And I thought after what we got in episode 4 with the Helena reveal, I'm like, nah, nothing's not gonna top that until the finale. But for me personally, this is the best episode this season. So tell me how you feel about this episode.
I agree, hands down. From the visuals, from the pacing, from the oh my god, like the flashbacks, you know, because this episode in particular just focuses heavily on Mark and Gemma's relationship, essentially kind of how they got intertwined with Lumen. Gemma's trying to have a child, has a miscarriage, the whole nine. The episode just in its entirety is fantastic, you know, and it really makes you feel more for the characters, especially for Gemma, you know, like hopelessness, you know, some of the themes in this episode, we see more, of course, of what they're actually working on, which are, of course, these doors, which is, and now we probably got an answer as to where they took them during the retreat, right? Like you mentioned, and we discussed, but, you know, you mentioned specifically that it's probably housed somewhere within Lumen, right? So that might have been a door, right? That they entered in the retreat. So, but, you know, outside of like, you know, the constant donation of blood, man, I was like, why is always a theme of blood? Going to the door and taking away blood, right? Might be there on purpose. But outside of that, we get introduced to a couple new characters. Really one particular eerie character, right? I believe his name is Bauer.
Yeah. Dr. Bauer. Yeah.
Dr. Bauer, right? Who has this fascination of Gemma. But I'm gonna hold my horses and, you know, and just give you overall my thoughts. It was a fantastic episode. I rated a 10 out of 10 season 2 thus far.
Yeah, agreed. 10 out of 10. It really, like you said, it really made you feel for these characters. And not that I wasn't already on board with Mark, but I don't think I've ever been more on board with Gemma. Like it really, and like in one episode, I think the depth that it gave to their relationship and just like flashbacks, and even the way the flashbacks were distinctly shot differently, like the quality than like the present time. But like it made me just like, bro, it was heartbreaking, right? Because all right, let's be real. Like we knew it was wrong what like Helena did to him, and even though it's his any, like you knew it was wrong. Like, oh, Mark slept with Helena and Helly, da 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 da. His wife this, his wife. You know, he wasn't. He thought she may be alive, but after you watching this episode, you're just like, whoa, like that, like my heart breaks for Gemma, what she's going through, and like it was like so emotional to watch. And what I find crazy is, like you said, the whole blood thing. And you look at the little drop in the lumen symbol, like I always thought it was like water or something, but it seems like maybe it's alluding to blood, you know. And then, you know, like they're getting the blood. And now I'm wondering how long have they been targeting Gemma? Because Dr. Maurer, he was in the fertility clinic.
He was, and he made an eye glance to her. And I'm not sure if that was the first time he made, you know, eye contact with her and developed his infatuation with her. But yeah, he was there.
So it's like, how long have they been targeting her? And are they targeting her like maybe something they saw in her blood? Or like, how did they know she was a good candidate for whatever they're doing to her? I'll be honest, I've never been so happy to be wrong, right? You know, like, because it seems like the whole her being like not really being Gemma, you know, and them had like, remember, I think I was saying like I think they 3D printed her and put her together, and they're putting it.
She was
like,
a clone, essentially.
I've never been so happy to be wrong, which just adds to why this show is so great. You think you know, but you really have no idea. Because even with the reveal of what they're doing to her, like it just adds so many different elements. Like I didn't realize you could be severed so many times. Every room she goes in, it's a different personality.
Yeah. Yeah. And then think from their perspective too, right? Every severed individuality that is within the confines of that room, they're there basically forever, right? So the dentist scene, which is like, can I get a break? It was just so heartbreaking, like she felt like she was just there, like, because they can't distinguish real time from their outies or the
Mhm.
other seven individuals. So like they're just continuously just going through the cycle of hell, right?
Yeah,
So it really was. It just shows that they're really experimenting with Gemma to kind of get all these different, realities forming in these different rooms, personalities.
yeah,
And Dr. Bauer is just playing makeup, right? Playing, having his own costume, and whether he's trying to mimic Mark in a sense of memories between Gemma and Mark,
yeah,
or he's just trying to take
yeah.
on this role to, but I'm not, I believe you might have something to add
No, 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 no.
in regards to that.
I agree about just how creepy he is, and I believe Mauer. It could be in German, but it means like wall, right? So
Mm,
it's almost like he's
okay.
the wall blocking her from getting back to the reality that she wants to be a part of, right?
Mhm.
And just it's crazy. And it's like, is his infatuation with Gemma, or is it with the experiments in which he's conducting, where, like you said, he's imitating like personal moments from her life. Even think about, like, was Ivan Iliad or something, the book that her and Mark discussed, that he tried to pull out right before he got clocked over his head like it was a table ladders and chairs match. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So yeah, that was crazy. But then think about what's the big guy Drummond telling him, like, listen, basically, like, I know you care, but like you're almost done with her, right? Because now Cole Harper's at 96%. But it's like, it's still like, I still can't fathom what's going on, because all right, we see she's severed multi layers when she goes in the room.
Right.
What could be so different about Cold Harbor that she's going to go through that room and this is going to be one of the greatest achievements of mankind? Any ideas from you?
To be quite honest, man, like to your point, when you was discussing, bringing up like bringing Kier Egan back to life, right? This sense of resurrection, which brings you to the point where I don't think Gemma even ever died, right? In this car accident, right? I like, there's no way, because if she died and resurrected her and have her go through all these loopholes, they can bring back Kier Egan, right? But I think she never died, and I think really what they're trying to do is probably formulate or gather all these different severance personalities to potentially sever the world, right? Or kind of have everyone follow this program through different areas of the world of some sort. And Cold Harbor might bridge that gap in the sense of like all these severed personalities can kind of collide into one, maybe,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
But it's really hard to say, because I don't think it's just that simple. Because even when she just have this conversation with Dr. Bauer, right? He gives this, this whole testimony of how great things will be. She'll have a chance to finally be free. She's like, "Yo, can you talk like a normal human being?"
Yeah.
But I think Cole Harbor ultimately is based off of Gemma and Mark as probably maybe the perfect relationship, maybe all four tempers in a relationship, and ultimately the child that they never had is probably gonna, is that probably has something to do with Cold Harbor. I'm not
Mhm.
sure, but then I have my own thoughts about, what Dr. Bauer mentioned to Gemma, right? Like, oh, he started a relationship, and she said, "Oh, I know you're lying," right? But really, did he? Right? To your point in the last episode, I joked around about it, right? Like, oh, Mark is having too much sex with Helena, Helly. I wouldn't, they may end up popping up a baby. And he was like, "No, I think that's actually gonna happen. That might be a thing now,
Yeah.
right?" But that's just my point of Cole
Yeah,
Harbor. What do you think?
it's just crazy how he tried to sway her. He's like, oh yeah, but the time frame was off, because he said a year ago he started a new
Yeah,
relationship,
yeah.
and it's like, so it makes you question how long she's been there, because I don't think it's been that long, but not like a year, but she's been there for some time, and
Yeah.
just, man, I mean, what they're doing is crazy, and it's just like, then when she goes upstairs, she's Miss Casey, but I'm gonna tell you this, bro. Milchick is on my shit list, bro.
Yo, the way she looked, and you could tell what make Miss Casey knew something was wrong. And she's
Hmm.
like, she was trying to talk. He was like, okay now, it's Casey.
Yeah,
Oh, like kept cutting her off and just staring at her, just walked through the
yeah.
void hallway right back to the elevator. Oh my
She knew
God.
there's no way her Audi would just be going there for no reason.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but the reason why Milchick's on my shit list is because I know Milchick is like, supervisor or manager and he's involved, but I thought they were keeping him in the dark. Like for example, I thought he was just like making sure they do their work and he knows some stuff. But it's like if Milchick I wouldn't take him to have known what was going on down there. And he clearly does and knows how they're torturing her and stuff, right? I thought he
Yep.
was just like a keeping the dark day-to-day kind of operations, make sure marketing, everyone's working. Yeah, some stuff, but just like the base layer.
Yeah.
So Milchick knows a lot more than I expected him to know. And I'm shocked that he's complying with that because you see he's a guy having internal battles himself. Gosh, what was the name of the episode? Because gosh, I can't think of the name of it. I want to find it. If you could find the name of but it basically is like part of like the stages of like after death, right? And we see the little image of the guy who looks like he's fighting himself, but
Yeah, with
it's
the
not like,
card that always being brought up, and that got brought up in season
yeah,
1 where Dylan put it underneath the toilet, and now
yeah,
it's being brought up now. Yeah.
like
Yep.
like we just saw Milchich having one of those moments where he's like in a battle with himself. You know what I mean? So just
Yeah.
morally, I'm kind of shocked at Milchich. But what about yo guy?
Oh no, I was gonna say too a Milchick because now I'm starting to think like with Miss Cobell, Milchick, or even Miss Wan now, right? Like, were they all raised since they were younger, right? Because even with Ragabi, when she's talking to Mark's sister, she says, don't like, why would you hit up Miss Cobell? Like, she's been, groomed by them since she was a kid,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm thinking like maybe Milchick is in the same boat, which is kind of the same thing that Milchick discussed with Miss Wan, right? Like, hey, your Winterfell internship depends on me and how I rate you and how I grade you, right? Did
Mm-hmm.
Milchick go through some sort of program as well, right? Is this the reason as to why they're so steadfast on, Lumen,
Yeah,
and at that point, obviously there's some blame there that he has to, really take on, but is the full responsibility his since he's been groomed as a kid? I don't know.
yeah.
You probably
So
have to
the episode's called Chica y Bardo. So that's the phrase I was looking for. But yeah, with Milchick, I don't know. I don't know. And it's crazy because remember a few episodes ago, because we haven't seen Harmony Cobell in a few episodes now, she said, just put me back as the manager. Like Milchick's not cut out for this. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he actually is. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he actually is. But now think about Mark's sister trying to call Miss Cobell and Ragabi's like I said, she's just not with it. She's like, if you call that lady, I'm out of here. She doesn't trust Miss Cobell. So from the last thing we saw, who I don't want to say allegiance, but who do you think Miss Cobell is more prone to help right now, Lumen or Mark?
I'll say Lumen. I don't think she turned full heel or the opposite of heel. I still think she wants to prove herself to the board. And whether she turns Mark in and whoever else was involved to do that, I think she's willing to do that, right? Go overhead, like go over Helena to do so. And prove her worth. I think that's where she is. I think we will probably need to see a revelation, which may pan to her, right? Especially we don't know where she's driving, right? We don't know if she's trying to revisit her past. We don't know, but she also knows something about Mark that we don't know, which might be something involving Gemma. I don't know, but for now, based off what I've seen, not saying that she may turn to help in the future, but based off what I've seen, I'm gonna say her loyalty is still towards Lumen.
Yeah. And when Mark wakes up, he's like shedding a tear. He seems really sad, really emotional. Do
Right.
you think he is fully reintegrated now?
100%. Yeah, I think so. I could be wrong. I mean, wouldn't be a first, right? But I think he's fully reintegrated. Absolutely.
Do you think he's going to raise hell, or how do you think he's going to go about it?
I think he's probably going to use the black card and probably find a way to get the black card and go down to the elevators. And we're probably going to get a bombshell, right, in episode 9, whatever that may be.
Next episode's episode 8. So are you saying like next episode, or do you think we're gonna have like a little slow burn? Then
I think we're gonna have a slow burn episode 8. You know, it may end with him going down the elevators, and because he's fully reintegrated, he won't like sever while he's going down. And then episode 9, we probably get the bombshell, or maybe he may get the key in episode 9. Who knows? But I do know, I believe he's gonna find a way to get the card, go to the elevator. Maybe he's by himself. Maybe he's with Helly. That would be crazy if it's with Helly, and then it reverts to Helena. That'll be a little dicey there, right? But I don't know. I think he's gonna find a way to get close to the elevator, especially knowing what he knows and knowing Miss Casey. I think he's gonna find a way for sure, but do it in a smart and calculative way.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Lumen just has too much muscle for him to just debo his way down there. But one scene I forgot to talk about is when we seen them doing their macro data refining, and then we saw characters on the opposite end of the computer in some sense looking at them, and they were like resemblance of our main protagonist. So do you think we've ever seen those characters before? And if we have, do you think it's the people we were seeing at the Ortbo?
No, I don't think. I think the Orpo was more so simulation or some type of
Mhm.
graphical illusion. I think these people, I don't know, it was weird. Cause then I'm like, man, is the cloning thing really a real thing now? Right? Was I wrong? I'm like, yo, I think Rue is right about the cloning, right? Because I'm always back and forth with that. At first, I thought it was a real thing, but then I'm like, nah, I think it's just focused on Severance and chips. But then I don't know, Dr. Bowers playing this, costume acts. I don't know if the people working at Lumen is trying to mimic their looks to these, but it was very eerie. It really was, especially the one that looked like Irvin. He really looked like Irvin,
Yeah.
like and Dylan. Oh my god!
Yeah,
Like,
the
come on,
Dylan
like the
one.
weight, like
It looked
come on.
like the thing that we saw at the Orbo. That's the Dylan one was the one that made me have that idea.
And they look like real human beings or real people. Monitoring and that I don't know. I don't have an answer to that or what I would believe them who they can be. Maybe it might be related to the goat people, so to speak,
Yeah,
like you mentioned, because remember the goat sign was next to the lettering sign, so clearly the
Mhm.
goat has some stringent meaning to Lumen.
Yeah,
What
yeah,
do you think?
yeah. Whew. Nah, I don't think those people are. I don't think those people are clones. I think Lumen is too particular for company. I think if they were making clones, they would want them to be precise, not just like look like doppelgangers. I think they would have to be like literal, like spot on. But
Right.
it's just interesting. But like I said, with Severance, every time they give us an answer, it poses 20 more questions. So you mentioned this. I want to touch back on this. Like you don't think Gemma actually ever died. So I was gonna say, okay, those cops that came, maybe they're employed by Lumen, right?
Yeah.
But they didn't show us, and I thought they were. Mark still made that statement that he identified her body. So it's like two things can happen here. Like how did they put a fake body for him to identify?
Hmm.
You know, or if the more extreme and drastic is, did she die and they found a way to bring her back, and this is all, like you mentioned earlier, putting the tempers back in her. She seems to be going through a lot of woe, and they need a test subject to see if they can then do it with care. So I'm kind of thinking of the initial, I don't think she ever died, right?
Yeah.
But it's just like, how do you explain him going to identify his wife and seeing her?
I think it goes back to, I think we kind of got our answer right with these individuals that look like Mark, Dylan, and the crew, right? These people these lookalikes, they somehow found a lookalike with a dead body, and they somehow maybe gashed her face to mimic an accident where he couldn't really outright tell this is her. Maybe she has a tattoo of some sort on her body that they kind of mimicked on the dead body. I don't know. I'm thinking they kind of just swap bodies out and just ultimately, because we don't know what ultimately happened to her. Maybe she, for all we know, she could have potentially drove to a Lumen facility, right?
And they already had her DNA.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah, they do have a DNA, so maybe they just use that, but maybe she was so desperate to have a child, she went seeking help, Lumen, and then it was like, hey, you got to do this before, got to go through this whole situation before you go back to Mark, and you can't tell anyone, or maybe they bamboozled her while she was driving and swapped out the bodies, right? Or maybe crashed into her, swapped her out, put someone else in. But I think it's just have to be a swap of bodies. I don't know. It could be anything, but yeah, I don't think she died or she was at a morgue and they kind of resuscitated her. I don't think so.
Yeah. I probably only got a couple more questions. This one's probably going to seem a little bit off the wall, but do you think at any point in time the Severance is going to get violent?
That's a good question. I think there's going to be some level of violence. I mean, we've seen it this past episode with Dr. Brown getting hit over the head. We've seen it season 1 with his sister. So we've seen some forms, like different forms of violence, right? The initial physical violence. Something more than that, potentially, if Mark goes off the deep end, maybe someone really dies. I can see that happening.
Like,
Someone getting clipped.
if you do this to me and put me through this, I don't really see a real resolution. Like, I feel like calling the cops is not a resolution.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there's no way for Mark to like alleviate this situation without just killing everybody. That's something right. But obviously, the essence of this show is not violence, right? It's such a great mystery drama that it's just like, I'm just like, if it gets subjected to violence, will that mess up the show? But I'm just like, how can he let some of these things slide?
Yeah, it's and if he truly knew what they were doing to her and he knew all the ins and outs, that could break him. That can break him to the point where he just like, yeah, I gotta murder Dr. Bauer. Because Dr. Bauer's not severed. He's experiencing all this as just taking on different characteristics, but it's
Yeah,
still
just role
him.
playing.
He's just role playing. So
Yeah, that plane scene. That's why I think like the Ortbo was on Lumen's because all the other ones, right? The dentist stuff, she's just in the chair. But the plane scene, how did they simulate being on a plane like that?
yeah, that was kind of crazy too.
So
My thoughts exactly.
yeah, so I feel confident in saying before Severance ends, though, Irving's gonna kill somebody.
Oh, I mean, his father's from the military. That's a good assessment.
I think
That's a
Irving's
good
gonna kill
assessment.
somebody. Yeah, but
That's a good assessment.
this this
Because he almost
episode,
killed he almost killed he was willing to
Helena.
kill Helena. So
Yeah.
he got it in him.
Yeah. I guess the question that I have though, I'm really wondering like how powerful Drummond is. Is he just like a main chess piece, or is how far is the ranks? Just the way he was giving orders to Helena, he just seems to be in the middle of everything, but he's also doing some dirty work himself. So I have a lot of questions about Drummond. It's just so many questions, and Miss Cobell. I feel like we have to get a Miss Cobell sighting next episode.
Yeah, I agree. And it would be perfect if it's episode 8, bro. Really, I think we need to.
Yeah, and then before we get out of here, my last thing is I moved off of this a few episodes ago, but this kind of brought it back when you said maybe Gemma volunteered herself to Lumen to go through this because they would help her have a baby, and like I said, they've always had her DNA. It looks like. Is there any credence to circling back on the theory that Miss Wong is the child of Gemma and Mark? I'm still on the fence of no, but I just wanted to run it by you.
I'm on the fence of no also.
Okay.
To be quite honest with you, I am on the fence of no. And I feel like the way the direction of the show is taking, it wouldn't be that much of a bombshell.
Yeah.
I think they would probably want to go more. They're just throwing these things to kind of throw us off, and I don't think they will take that. I don't think they'll put that out there for us to take as bait. But yeah, I'm leaning towards no.
Okay. Cool. So, I mean, there's a million theories out there. Make sure you guys jump in the comment section. Tell us what some of your best theories are. Tell us if you disagree with some of our assessments. What do you think about episode 7? Where does it rank amongst all the Severance episodes so far to date? We have 16 total Severance episodes, including season 1 and 2. Tell us where you rank this episode. Make sure you jump in the comment section. Make sure you like. Make sure you subscribe. 2 cents short of $1. Severance coming soon.